Hello everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Deborah. I am a faith-based content creator, so I make videos sharing all about my journey with God to encourage you on your journey with Him. And welcome to Faith Talks, which is a series where we also speak about all things our relationship with the Lord. And today we've got a special episode because, as you can see, we've got a guest here.
Hi.
So this beautiful woman of God is Funmi. And Funmi is a nutritionist, and she's here today because I have shared in quite a few vlogs my journey with PCOS. I have PCOS, and under those vlogs, a lot of you guys have commented that this is something that you also struggle with, and rightfully so. A lot of you pointed out that I need to start watching my diet. Like, people were telling me off, girl, which I mean, but it is true. Like, PCOS and diet are linked together quite a bit, and because a lot of us are struggling with this, Funmi is here to talk us through how diet affects PCOS and just educate us on all of that a little bit. So welcome
Hello.
Do you want to introduce yourself a little bit?
Yeah.
A little bit about you, what you do?
Yeah, so hi, my name is Funmi. I am a registered associate nutritionist. I live in Oxford, and I've been told by Deborah to speak slowly. I speak really fast. I'm going to try my absolute best to speak slowly because I used to speak so fast that my parents were called into my primary school and were told that they need to encourage me to speak English in the lessons because they can't understand what I'm saying. And my mum was like, the only language she can speak is English. So I am going to try.
Because they thought you were speaking Yoruba.
They thought I was speaking Yoruba. They thought I was speaking my home language because I speak so fast. So I'm trying my absolute best to pace myself. But yeah, I'm a registered associate nutritionist and the founder of Pattern Nutrition, which is my business that I launched in February. And my whole business is about helping people establish a healthy pattern for life. And I'm really passionate about helping people form a healthy relationship with food, with their body, with movement. Most of us will be aware that there is a really toxic diet culture out there, which is always like criticizing women's bodies, telling us to be smaller and smaller and smaller, and is encouraging us to like neglect our health for the sake of this unrealistic beauty ideal that we see in magazines and in newspapers, so which can cause a lot of disordered eating, which can lead to eating disorders, poor body image. So I'm really passionate about helping people sort of step off the yo-yo dieting train, improve their relationship with their food, overcome binge eating, emotional eating, help them like establish regular eating for those who are constantly skipping meals, and also just, you know, appreciate their body and to start being kind to their body, because it's so easy for us to be so critical about our bodies and nitpick at it and compare it with others. So that's what I'm really passionate about, and having people, you know, like support their health as well through nutrition and through lifestyle.
Wow, it's so good to hear that and to see your passion in it as well. Like, you can tell that you're very passionate about what you do, and what you said about our bodies is so important because our bodies are the temple of the Holy Spirit. We have to take well care of it and not be hard on ourselves, because that's not healthy. That is not taking good care of our bodies. So today we're going to speak about this a little bit. And there's a question that I wanted to ask you because you have PCOS as well, right? So being a nutritionist, how, or maybe not from a nutritionist perspective yet, but how has PCOS been for you? How is it to, like, how does that affect you on a day-to-day basis? Because I think, please correct me if this is wrong, I think that as women, the symptoms that we can have vary quite a bit. Not everybody has the same symptoms, right?
Yeah, correct.
So how does it affect you?
Yeah, you're so correct, because PCOS is a syndrome, so it's a collection of symptoms, and it looks different for different people. Like, everyone's experience of PCOS is so different. And for me, I was diagnosed with PCOS, which is polycystic ovarian syndrome, in my like early to mid 20s, I think it was. Can't remember exactly when. And I was diagnosed because, well, throughout my teen years, I've always had irregular periods, and I didn't think much about it. I was just like, I have irregular periods, and I thought it was quite a good thing because I was like, periods can be such a nuisance sometimes. So I was like, I'm like, I felt quite lucky.
Oh my goodness, no
that I was
way.
like missing the periods because like, oh yeah, like I don't have to have as many as others do.
But then don't you also think it's a bit harder because you never know when to expect it? Like it just comes.
It just comes randomly, true. And also, adding to that, a regular period is a sign of good health. Like it's really important that we are having regular periods because our menstrual health is connected with our heart health and our bone health as well. Right. So it plays a really key part in our overall health. So for anyone who is missing their periods or struggling with irregular periods, whether it's a skipped period or having too many, then it is really important that you see your doctors to see what's going on because there are different conditions and that can be causing that. Right. But for me, always had irregular periods and I was just like, didn't really think much of it, just thought, I remember someone told me it's normal to have irregular periods. I was like, okay, cool. And then it was, I think I can't remember when, but I basically had a period every day for maybe about 4 months. Like every day for about 4 months. I was like, what is going on? Part of me was like, maybe it's just my body catching up with all the periods that I have missed. And I was like, this is not normal. So obviously, I can't remember which point in those 4 months I called the doctor to be like, I'm like, having a period every day. It's expensive. You're buying pads all the time. And so I had a doctor's appointment and they wanted to do a blood test as well as an ultrasound, which they did. And they found cysts in my ovaries as well as my blood test indicated sort of like excess androgens. And also, those two facts in combination with my regular periods was enough to diagnose me with polycystic ovarian syndrome. PCOS increases risk of type 2 diabetes and high cholesterol and is associated with other nutrient deficiencies as well. So actually, there were other tests that I had. I was deficient in vitamin D at one point. Slightly later on after my diagnosis of PCOS, I was pre-diabetic, which was so young to have. And like a lot of that was like my lifestyle. Like I was like binging on like lots of sugary foods, lots of processed foods. Since an early age, I always had a poor relationship with food because I was obsessed with dieting. So I was always in the cycle of restriction and then binging, restriction and then binging, restriction and then binging. And then also struggling with my body image. And a lot of people with PCOS, like body image struggles can be part of that for a lot of people because your body isn't working in the way that you want it to work. And so sometimes you can feel like you're at war with your own body. And we'll talk more into like the different symptoms that people experience and why that's the case. But for me, that was my journey with PCOS. And then the doctor kind of just gave me the diagnosis and texted me a few like leaflets online to look at. And that was it.
Yeah, they did that for me too.
Didn't realize how serious the condition was or how many people it impacts or what strategies are in place to like manage symptoms. So I kind of was just like, cool, left in the lurch. And it wasn't until several years later when I was studying nutrition myself and then I started shadowing nutritionists who specialize in PCOS where I learned loads about it. And I was like, oh wow, like this makes so much sense. I wish I knew this before. So really, grateful for this space to be able to bring that awareness to anyone else who's listening and is like, I didn't know that. I didn't know that. Because knowledge is power and it's important that we have the right information to be able to support ourselves and to know what's going on in our bodies.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a main thing that they did the same for me. It's like you get the diagnosis and then you're just kind of left with it. I think it's also because in a way you are able to just live life with it. But then when you get educated on it, I'm sure that there's so many things that you then realize, wait, this is actually like, for example, energy wise, I feel more tired than other people because PCOS, my hormone imbalance, my body is doing all this craziness. I'm sure that being educated on it points out a lot of things that are the cause of PCOS, if that makes sense.
Makes total sense. And it's also just helpful because you're like, oh gosh, I'm not going crazy. Because I was struggling with fatigue for years to the point where I was like, have I got like some sort of like fatigue, like I thought I had chronic fatigue syndrome at one point. I think that's the right term. Like chronic fatigue syndrome?
I guess. I don't know.
ME. I thought I had that. I was always like panicking, calling the doctors, being like, I need tests. And there was a point where I was like anemic and vitamin D deficient and all that sort of stuff. But then like now knowing, I'm like, oh, that explains it. And like fatigue is one of the symptoms of PCOS.
Right.
So like even if you've slept enough and you've felt like you've like rested well and you're still exhausted and you're like, what is going on? Like that is unfortunately one of the symptoms of PCOS. And obviously like lifestyle strategies can like help change that. But if you don't know what's going on, you can be really worried and really alarmed as well.
Yeah. Wow. Interesting to hear. And from this, I wanted to ask about food. Like, let's go into food because that's the main thing that you do, the main reason that you're here. I did not know for the longest time that food impacted my PCOS, that it had effects on my hormones. Can you speak a little bit about that, about how does food affect PCOS? And just go into that a little bit.
Yeah, definitely. So there's a couple of things that come to mind with that question. One is relationship with food and PCOS. There's a connection there. So women with PCOS are actually at increased risk of binge eating. And so that's really important to acknowledge because I'm sure there are a lot of people with PCOS who may be in bigger bodies who have tried dieting and then have ended up in that cycle of restriction and binging, or because for those large bodies, like weight loss can be hard. Now, as a nutritionist, I kind of focus more on like a non-diet approach. Okay. So I don't focus on intentional weight loss as such, because I want people to think beyond the scale and focus on like healthy sort of like patterns and like trust that our body would do what it needs to do for it. Like once we've got those healthy habits in place, whether that's weight maintenance, weight loss, weight gain or whatever. But so women are at increased risk of binge eating, and also 80% of women with PCOS have insulin resistance. And this is where the body isn't able to utilize glucose from our foods as well. Right. So, for instance, we eat a meal, insulin is released from the pancreas to signal to the cells that, okay, open up, there's a meal's been eaten, there's glucose in the blood, you need to like uptake it to like be utilized for energy. Whereas in insulin resistance, there's like a miscommunication happening, like the cells are less responsive to insulin. So then you have this situation where there is excess blood sugar, which can like lead to these like crashes and like dips, and also your cells aren't utilizing glucose from the blood. So when I say glucose and sugar, I'm using it the same way. So your cells aren't using it well, so therefore you're not getting the energy that it needs, because the glucose is there to provide energy. Like our body's main source of energy is from glucose, is from sugar. When our cells aren't uptaking it correctly, then they're not getting the energy it needs. But also you've got this excess sugar in the blood, and then because there's this excess sugar in the blood, like our body's still signaling that, well, we need more insulin. So then you have excess insulin in the blood as well. And excess insulin leads to like excess testosterone, which is an androgen, and excess androgens can contribute to missing periods.
So it's like a domino
acne,
effect.
Yeah, and all sorts. And so that excess androgens in the body leads to sort of like missing periods, irregular periods, acne, oily skin, something called hirsutism. I don't know if I say that word right, but hirsutism, which is for some people with PCOS, they experience hair in places that they don't want hair, and less hair in places where they do want hair. So you've got this like whole, like everything's so connected. And then also there's like a lot of people with PCOS, chronic grade inflammation as well. So food can play a really helpful part in sort of like reducing inflammation in the body, and also reducing insulin resistance as well, and blood sugar management. And like working on those things can then support better energy and like all those symptoms I mentioned, those knock-on effects. We can see an improvement there as well with blood sugar management and reducing inflammation. Studies have also shown that people with PCOS have sort of like gut dysbiosis, which is where we have like more bad bacteria than beneficial bacteria in our gut. So actually focusing on gut health is really important. So introducing sort of like live cultures into our diet so that we're feeding our gut with beneficial bacteria, as well as supporting the good bacteria in our gut to like thrive and multiply. Right. So that's where like diet can play a really key role in those areas there.
Wow, this is all stuff that you don't think about. Because something about me, I've shared this in vlogs as well, is that I think I struggle with comfort eating a lot, and with that, during the comfort eating, I run to sweet things very often. I'm a massive sweet tooth, which is so bad. And then looking at it this way, hearing what happens to the body when with PCOS, there's already something that isn't quite going right. And then putting all that sugar into my body, it's obviously not helping me with my PCOS, right? It's not good for me. Hearing it from you, it's known that women with PCOS struggle with binge eating more and emotional eating. So,
and for different reasons as well. So for instance, the insulin resistance can lead to like increased cravings, and studies have shown that after a meal, people with PCOS tend to like be hungrier like a couple of hours after than those without it. Wow. Because another hormone called ghrelin, which is like a hunger hormone. Yeah. Studies have shown that there are higher levels of this hunger hormone in people with PCOS as well. And there are different factors that can affect sort of like hunger hormones. For instance, cycles of chronic dieting can affect our hunger and fullness hormones. Sleep can affect it as well. So like poorer quality of sleep increases sort of our hunger hormones and decreases our fullness hormones as well. So there's so much that's going on, isn't there? Yeah. And with like the comfort and emotional eating, different reasons for that will be, and like the binge eating I said as well, will be sort of like if your cells aren't getting this energy that it needs, then you're going to be wanting, like your body's going to be crying out like we need like what's going on. So you can tend to eat more there. You've got these hormones that are all over the place, but then also the symptoms of PCOS can present just like symptoms that are just quite difficult. So if you're struggling with your body because it's not how you want it to be, or you feel like you're fighting with it, or if you've got like, if you're struggling with acne or like hair in places you don't want it to be, or you're constantly tired, and PCOS as well is associated with like low mood and increased risk of like depression and anxiety. So you've got all that going on a psychological level, physiologically as well. So then comfort eating is gonna, do you know what I mean? Like you're gonna like, if you're frustrated with your body, or you're frustrated with how it's like with it not working in the way it should be, or like for instance, like again, like PCOS makes fertility harder. So then if you're struggling with fertility, like comfort eating, like do you know what I mean? Like it's such a normal go-to. So and that's why the relationship to food piece is really important. I always want to ask people like, what's their story with food? How can we improve your relationship with food? Because it's not about being like, oh, what, you're doing a bad job because you're comfort eating or emotional eating, but it's helping people find other tools as well that they can go to. So being like, do you know what? Food has a place in providing comfort. Like we're human, we eat food to celebrate, or like from a, like, you see mums giving their newborns like the boob to bring them comfort. Like it's a part of being human. So it's acknowledging that space it has, but also being like, okay, but what's some other tools that we can depend on, so we're not over relying on food, but we've got other tools, whether that's praying or journaling or talking to a friend or seeking therapy, or going for a walk or exercising, finding other ways to bring comfort and to deal with emotions can really help with that piece of, around the comfort eating and emotional eating. And like with the binge eating, establishing like a regular eating pattern as well, because when we're skipping meals, whether that's whatever that reason that is, that can then lead to like, binging later on. So it's so different for different people. That's where a personalized approach is really needed when it comes to this stuff.
Right, I see. This is also interesting to hear. From this, I wanted to roll on into asking you, how do you as a nutritionist walk alongside your clients to implement healthier habits? So for example, I'm assuming that you wouldn't suggest cutting certain foods out completely. You kind of mentioned finding replacements. So maybe when it comes to sugar, how do you walk alongside your clients to improve that? What's your method? Like, how do you do that?
Great question. So my approach is all about nutrition by addition. So helping people focus on what they can add into their diets and what swaps and changes they can make rather than obsessing over restriction. And this, I think, helps people foster a positive relationship with food, because when you're like giving up foods that you like and enjoy, that can just lead to like an obsession over it anyway. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Like, I've been on so many diets, like I'm sure, like I've been on so many diets. I've had such an up and down relationship with food. But anytime I was like, I'm going to give up chocolate and cake and sweets and I'll never eat it again, was the time where I would end up binging on those things, or that mental restriction would lead me to thinking about it constantly. Whereas actually now I'm at a place where I'm like, no, those foods have a place in my diet and I can enjoy them. And since doing that, like I don't go to it as much as I used to, because I know that I can have it whenever I want. So that's for me, that sense of like, well, I can have cake and chocolate sweets whenever I want, has led to me being like, I can go days now without it.
Interesting.
Whereas before, it was like every day. There were times I'd have it for like with my breakfast, my lunch, because I was so obsessed with it. And I was always like, oh, I'll give it up tomorrow, therefore I won't have it now.
Oh my gosh,
so it was very like all or nothing thinking. Which just isn't helpful. And it's been like, you know what, there's a space for those foods. We can enjoy that. Like we enjoy cake to celebrate, you know, we can go out for ice cream with our friends. It's not about obsessing over individual foods. What's important is thinking about our entire dietary pattern. That's what's really important and what we're doing most of the time. Now, the problem with sort of like the more processed foods, the more sugar foods, is when it's replacing the more nutritious foods. So when we're over consuming that, or when that's our main dietary sort of like pattern, that's when there's an issue. Whereas actually, if our main dietary pattern is regular eating with balanced meals and balanced snacks, which when I use the term balanced meals and snacks, I mean having a plate that has all the macronutrients on it. So having a source of protein like chicken or salmon, having your source of like carbohydrate, whether that's quinoa or rice or couscous or pasta, having a source of healthy fat, whether it's avocado or olive oil drizzled over it, and then having like fiber, so like colorful fruits and vegetables on that plate. That's a really great way to build a meal or a snack that will keep me satisfied and full, and also support healthy blood sugars, because you've got your carbohydrates on the plate, which produce the glucose and the sugar that we need, like our energy that we need. But what the protein and the healthy fats and the fiber does, it slows down the release of the sugars from those carbohydrates. So we're not having this crazy increase and spike in our blood sugars, but we're having a steady release of sugars in the blood, which just keep us fuller for longer and keep us more energized or stabilize our energy. So focusing on creating plates that are balanced, that will support blood sugar, focusing on variety, like variety of fruits and vegetables and nuts and seeds and whole grains and pulses and legumes. Like those foods are so good for us. Not only are they so beneficial for us because of all the fiber they bring into our diet, which is really important for blood sugar management, really important for reducing the risk of high cholesterol, reducing the risk of certain cancers. It provides us with lots of antioxidants, minerals, vitamins, healthy fats from the nuts and the seeds as well. But it also introduces lots of flavor and texture and gets us to be more creative and experimental with our food as we're exploring sort of like more of, you know, God's creation, like all this food that we have available to us. What I think is really important for people with PCOS is turning those sort of like sugary treats into like a balanced snack. So if you're the type of person who can like demolish an entire pack of Oreo biscuits, the type of person that can demolish an entire pack of Oreo biscuits, and then you're also the type of person that can quickly go into like the all or nothing thinking, right, I'll never eat Oreo biscuits ever again. And then you're like binging on 3 packs of Oreo biscuits because you've gone like so the other way. Just be like, you know what, I'm gonna have a couple of Oreo biscuits, but I'm gonna turn this into something that's like balanced and nourishing. So I'm gonna have a couple of Oreo biscuits, maybe some Greek yogurt on the side for some protein, maybe some mixed berries for some antioxidants and fiber, sprinkle on some nuts for some healthy fats. You've created a really nourishing snack plate that is giving you like your protein, your fiber, some healthy fats, but also something that you enjoy. But you've gone from 1 pack of Oreos to 2 biscuits, and that's going to support a healthy blood sugar balance as well. So that's really, really key in dietary patterns. And so like with my clients, I tend to sort of like get them fill out a health questionnaire, get them to fill out like a 5-day food diary and just like analyze what's going on. So like, are they skipping breakfast? Okay, cool. We're going to introduce a breakfast that is a balanced breakfast. So that has all those macronutrients. So you've got like a good release of sugar throughout your morning until you're ready for your next snack or your meal. Are they lacking in fruits and vegetables? Okay, cool. Let's add in some more fruits and vegetables. And for different people, like the approach is always going to be different in terms of like, okay, what's going well for them? Let's celebrate that. But then also, what improvements do we need? So it might look like, okay, cool, your meals are lacking protein. Let's add in more protein. That will keep you fuller for longer. That will slow down the release of sugar from the carbohydrates in your meals. That will also like plays a key role in muscle building and like in the role of hormone buildings as well. So it just depends on different people. And also just focusing on like little changes that people can make. So it's not like, get rid of your entire diet and now you've got to follow this completely different way of eating, but it's actually focus on what can you add in that will have a positive impact on your health and your relationship to food. My friend, she wanted to focus on her sort of nutrition, and one of the goals that she set for herself, which I absolutely loved, was I'm going to have a side salad with every meal that makes sense. So simple yet so powerful to be like, I'm going to have a side salad with every meal that makes sense. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's nothing crazy. It's not saying that I will never eat this again, or I have to now follow this crazy diet that's going to leave me depleted and deficient. But it's like, I'm going to focus on what I can add in, and that's going to change your plate and also add in really beneficial ingredients into your body as well.
You know what? You make it sound so much fun. Like now hearing, because I don't know, we can have maybe an image of nutritionists in our head that they're gonna, like you mentioned, restrict our diets. And like, oh, it sounds a bit intimidating sometimes, but hearing you speak about it is like, this actually sounds fun. I don't know if you would agree with this. It sounds a lot like changing our taste palettes, opening our taste palettes up to the healthy foods. Because when you're so used to eating processed foods, fruit is not going to taste that good at the beginning because you're used to this overly sweet stuff. But if you slowly but surely incorporate more fruit, I'm sure that over time, we might also be like, actually, I think I prefer, you know, going back to the Oreos on the plate. I think this time I'll actually leave the Oreos out.
Yeah, you might feel like you don't need it.
Yeah. So that's so interesting to hear. And it sounds very effective to do it this way instead of like cutting things out, and more healthy as well.
Yeah, definitely. Because food's there to be enjoyed.
That's it.
And food isn't just fuel.
Yeah.
It is also a sign of culture. Do you know what I mean? Like, we get to experience different cultures through food. Like, I get to have an experience of India through tasting Indian food, or an experience of Ghana by tasting Ghanaian food. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, I get to experience different cultures, or it's also an opportunity to celebrate, to gather around the dinner table and to eat with people. And like, we see that in scripture, don't we? Like, Jesus was always gathering around the table. Like, he compares the kingdom of God to a banquet. Like, food is really powerful, and not just what it does for our body, but also the experience that it can cultivate and how it can bring people together. So it's just seeing that nutrition can be really fun, and healthy eating can be really fun, and actually not, because I think a lot of people, their mind goes to, I need to start a healthy diet there if I'm going to restrict and be really deprived. But actually see it as like, no, I'm starting a healthy diet that I want to not just do for the next 12 weeks, but actually for the next 10, 20, 30, 40 years. And actually that can be really enjoyable, because I am opening up my senses to new fruits and vegetables, to new ingredients, to new cooking methods, to new recipes, to new flavors and textures. Like, one of the healthiest things in nutrition that we can do is actually add in more herbs and spices and seasonings. And now some of us need to be adding in more herbs and spices and seasonings. Some people are just eating plain food.
With the salt and the pepper.
There's more to life than salt and pepper. Whereas actually, like, herbs and spices are really good for us, and that brings in variety into our diets. It's really good for our gut health. It has lots of polyphenols, which are like good antioxidants for our bodies. So actually, that's a great opportunity. Do you know what I mean? That you're bringing in more flavor, but also you're bringing in more benefits to your health as well.
Wow, this all sounds like so much fun. It's crazy. It's only been a little bit, but I'm like, okay, let me get into this. Let's do this. So I wanted to ask you next, as a woman of God, how on this journey of becoming a nutritionist, and just share whatever you feel led to share, how has your faith played a role in this, and relying on the Lord when it comes to starting your business, or when it comes to your journey with food? Like, wherever you're like, okay, this stands out to me, I want to share this, a little bit about how faith has played a role in this for you?
Yeah, good question. So growing up, I wanted to be a medical doctor, even though I was not serious at school. So I was like the laziest student ever. I was just so distracted, but I was like, I'm going to be a medical doctor. Yeah. And teachers like, you have the potential, like you can do it, but you just are like, where are you? Like, you're just so distracted. And then went to do my undergrad degree in biological sciences. And again, I was like, the degree's getting in the way of my social life.
Oh no, you had your priorities in a different way.
And then I was like, oh yeah, I'm still going to try and pursue it. But then actually just felt led by God to join this Christian organization called Fusion. Shout out to Fusion, Hello Fusion Movement, which is all about helping sort of like the local church and students connect. So it was about equipping the local church to love, to welcome and to disciple students as well. So yeah, it's a great charity, and like there's an app as well that helps students find like a local church.
Oh, what is the app called, just in case?
Oh yeah, great. It's called Student Link Up. Okay. And you basically just type in your location and what course you're going to study in which year, and then you can, it's basically like a dating app for finding churches. So you can message churches, but churches can also message you as well.
What?
Yeah. So yeah, it's a great charity, great movement.
Link it down below as
definitely.
Well. Okay.
So I worked there for 5 years, and I've always been really interested in like food, nutrition, health. And then in sort of like lockdown time, I kind of really started to think about my relationship with food. I was like, it's just years now of struggling my body, trying every diet under the sun, restriction, binge eating, emotional eating, like skipping meals, and then hiding food, like just everything. And I really remember, I remember so clearly being like, oh, like I'm following Jesus and we speak so much about freedom in Christ. But I was like, I don't have any freedom when it comes to my food or when it comes to my body. Wow. And so I felt really like, yeah, like that needs to change. So I've been on a long journey, still on my own journey as well, but lots have changed in the last couple of years. And I also remember in lockdown, just like going through some clothes that were my skinny clothes that I'd spent loads of money years before on clothes like a few sizes too small.
No way.
And I was like, that I'm gonna fit into that. Just like, so when I could have bought clothes for my own body, but the message I was telling myself was that my body as it wasn't deserving of nice clothes. I had to change it and manipulate it until I can wear those nice clothes. Whereas actually, for anyone listening who was also thinking that same way, it's like, no, your body as it is now is worthy of the nice clothes, is worthy of the nice experience, is worthy of the self-care. Whether it changes or not, it's always going to be worthy of that. Like our bodies are precious. And actually, like studies even show that like improved body image is associated with eating more fruits and vegetables and exercising more regularly.
Wow, so it does affect it a lot.
It does, yeah. And actually struggling body image is associated with sort of like eating like less of those nutritious foods and exercising less, because exercise isn't about sort of like supporting our overall health and like, you know, what can we do now so that when we're 90 we can still, you know, shake our leg, do a little two-step, you know what I mean? Yeah, lockdown happened and I did there's like this course, like, everyone was doing courses, everyone was doing something. So I was like, oh, a nutrition course, I'll sign up to that. It was like a free course. I did like half a lesson and it was like on the gut or something like that. And I was like, oh, this is fascinating. I think I called my dad the next day being like, I need to study a master's in nutrition. Like I need to do this. And then just kind of from there, like it was quite quick, like applied for it. Yeah. So then I ended up doing a part-time master's in nutrition. So I did that for 2 years alongside my job with Fusion. And from the beginning of it, I just knew that I wanted to set up a business in this. So a big part of my faith in that was the sense of like freedom, that freedom piece around, oh, like my faith was so much about freedom, but I'm not free in this area. And so many people aren't as well. And actually, like I want to help people break free from diet culture and to find peace with food and find peace with their bodies and also support their health so they're able to thrive and do what they're called to do. And so, yeah. Wow. I feel like I answered that in such a long way.
No, but I think that was so good. There was so much wisdom in there. The main thing that you said that you kind of came back to in the end is that freedom thing. I think so many of us can relate to that we've been set free through Christ, yet I'm still in this cycle when it comes to food. And it's so beautiful to hear how the Lord led you out of that into this. Now you said it's still an ongoing journey, which I'm sure for a lot of people it is, but how he's led you into this open field where these restrictions are no longer putting chains on you. You are free, and the Lord is still walking you through this as we speak.
I guess we've spoken quite a lot about nutrition, and we are going to do another episode where we're going to be like PCOS in the kitchen. Where we're going to.
I wanted to announce at the end. Yeah,
oh, sorry.
Girl, I mentioned it again, but yeah, we are going to do that next to really show what it looks like to create balanced meals and just to give you ideas.
Again, with PCOS, the studies have shown that like there are certain nutrient deficiencies. So like vitamin D like deficiency can be quite common, sort of like lower levels of like omega-3. Yeah, certain nutrient deficiencies can be there. So obviously like I'm advocate for like a food first approach. So what can we do with food first and then supplement in a way that's specific to each individual? So it's not just like a blanket, like take these supplements, but actually like, okay, what's going to work for you and your unique needs and your sort of like unique representation of symptoms. So supplementation has a really good place in PCOS management, really effective place. And then other things like exercise is powerful for the management of PCOS, specifically like resistance training, because that just helps with the uptake of glucose and in the muscles, building muscles. Even things like a short walk after one of your main meals can just help with that blood sugar management as well, and can really help with like reducing that crash. And then also studies have shown that like moderate activity every 2 days can increase insulin sensitivity for those following 2 days.
Oh, okay.
So even like, so like moderate activity like every other day is really effective. And like with movement, you want to find exercise that you enjoy, that you can do. And like exercise can look so different for different people. I love and have started recently in the last sort of like year lifting weights. And like lifting weights is an excellent sort of like movement I would recommend it for anyone with PCOS. So like just get some like weightlifting going in, some resistance training going in. Really important at building that muscle, supporting bone health. Again, people with PCOS are at increased risk of things like osteoporosis. So we want to be really supporting our bone health. But also like postmenopausal women, muscle mass decreases. So we want to make sure that we're like building as much muscle as possible to support us for our older age as well. But then I love doing that, but I also love dancing and
that's so nice.
I love roller skating. Like it's a bit of a quirky one. And so exercise can be anything. Like it could be dancing, could be going for a run, it could be, like joining a salsa class and like doing that. Cute. And it could be, I don't know, like trapezing or
trapezing, girl.
Like literally, like it could be like, you can use it as an opportunity to get creative and have fun. Like you may be like 65 and you've never done ballet before. Why not start now? Start taking some adult ballet classes. That's so a great movement, also really fun. So like finding a workout that fits into your routine, and also just like that daily movement. So like try not to be too sedentary, especially for office jobs, taking a break. My friend's a nutritionist and she always tries and encourages people to not sit down for longer than 45 minutes, just so they're having those sort of like movement snacks in a working day. So whether that's getting up and just walking around for a little bit, or standing for a bit, or I don't know, doing some star jumps on the desk, just getting your body moving. And then again, stress management is really key. Optimizing sleep hygiene is really key. Those things can be really impacted by PCOS and can have knock-on effects on health as well. Stress can like impact our periods as well. So we want to be managing stress as much as possible, practicing self-care. So nutrition plays a piece, but so does supplementation and exercise and self-care and sleep and stress management. Like there's so much to like looking after our whole self.
There's so much to it. The more you explain, it's like this map almost, with food being kind of at the center, but then everything is like connected to it, which is so interesting to hear, because I don't think a lot of us know this. And from this, I wanted to ask you about, obviously you've had some clients. I mean, people might not know that. You've had some clients now, and I wanted to hear if you have some like testimonials, some stories of women who have come to you and you have helped them in their diet, and they've seen a change in something health related, or even when it comes to PCOS or like whatever it is, just that like fruit of that work. Do you have anything to share?
I got a few. I find it really encouraging that I've had clients in the first place. I'm like,
Hey, glory be to God, right? That's so
Literally, I'm like,
exciting.
this is crazy. I don't know, like, it is scary. I'm so new at this stuff, but learning lots along the way, and feel really grateful for the clients that are coming my way. And it's an interesting one. It's like, yes, I'm the nutritionist. I've done loads of like the studying and the prep for this stuff, but actually, like, it's the clients who are amazing, because they're the ones that have to go away and make these changes. Like, they're the ones that have to, so I can be like, woohoo, all my clients said this and this, and this is incredible, and like, people are like, oh, well done, you did that. But it's actually like, they did that, like, they had to like implement changes. And some of them changes have been more like subtle and more simple, but some of them they've had to make huge changes. It's been really encouraging. Like, one client is type 2 diabetic and has just struggled with blood sugar management for the last sort of like 5 years, and was in hospital at the beginning of the year, and then like came to me in May and wanted to like sort out her like just her emotional relationship with food, and she's just done so well that like in our last session she was like, her blood sugars are in like the healthy range. They're like, it's no longer classified as type 2 diabetes or pre-diabetic, but it's actually in the normal range. Like, all of that through the nutrition and lifestyle changes and staying on top of her medication has just made such a huge impact on her health, which is amazing. And like, she did all of that, and just seeing like clients, like a couple of my clients, like one just come to mind. She was like, oh, like, I used to emotionally eat all the time, and now like I haven't in a long time. Like, I'm not relying on food as much. And another client, she was like, oh, like, I'm realizing that healthy food can be really tasty at the same time. So it means like different changes for different clients. One of my clients said like her body hasn't changed, but she was like, when she looks in the mirror, she's more pleased with what she sees. And she used to struggle with that. I was like, that's amazing. We didn't really delve deep into body image before, but just little knock-on changes and little around mindset and just around like looking after yourself a bit more can have other knock-on effects as well. So yeah, I've been really grateful for my little handful of clients, and excited for like more, and to see like my clinic grow and fill. But yeah, it's been encouraging so far.
Thank you for sharing that. Thank you for sharing the little testimonials. And by the grace of God, these are only the beginning of many more to come.
Amen.
In Jesus' name, because
Amen.
the Lord is with you. And it's been so encouraging to see your enthusiasm on this topic. Like, it's made me be like, okay, girl, like, what can I change in my diet? So I'm hoping it's done that for more people. And I'm gonna leave all Funmi's website details, socials down below if you are interested. If you're thinking about maybe after hearing this looking into a nutritionist, she is the best of the best, if you could tell. She's the creme de la creme, woman of God in the house, and just again her passion for what she does. It's incredible to hear. So thank you so much for sharing. I will leave that down below.
Thank you.
Yes, guys, check back in for the next episode that we're gonna do. It might be like a Faith Talks episode in between them, but anyways, we're gonna do the one in the kitchen very soon, where we're gonna look at the meals. I'm excited about that.
Yeah,
you can help me a little bit with my diet and like change some of the bad habits that I have. Keep an eye out for that. And is there anything else you want to add?
Just say like, if anyone wanted like chat in the comments or ask any questions, I can like lurk around, and I'm happy to like answer some questions in the comments as well, if anyone has anything specific around what I said.
Please ask the questions in the comments. Fumi's going to be lurking. She's going to be lurking around. She will answer your question. And maybe also for a follow-up video, if that would be interesting, to do another sit down like this, and just let us know and we'll see what we can do. But yeah, I think that's it for today.
Amazing.
Thank you so much for being here. It's been such a blessing. May the Lord bless you and your businesses. Amen. I can't wait to see what our Heavenly Father is going to do next. And I pray that this has been a blessing for you guys. And that's it for today's episode.
Bye.
Bye. So see you again next week for another Faith Talks episode.